of these countries that likely are going to get a visit, which one to you stands out, perhaps is the most interesting stop at this time for the Secretary of State?
Well, I think this time is Morocco because, you know, we were talking about Gulf states, which of course is contagious. Once you have the Emirates, it makes sense that the Oman and Bahrain would be next, since they're all members of the JCC.
Yeah, and Bahrain sent out a congratulation. They were the first Gulf country to send out congratulations.
And of course, the Saudis are in the back, giving their blessings. Of course, they are not doing anything yet. But
so that's not so surprising to you.
Right. And then you have Sudan, who are also trying to move in and get out the sanctions and be on the good side of the United States, understanding that this is going through Jerusalem. And Morocco would be the first one from the Maghreb, you know, North Africa. And if they come in, that could also bode well for Tunisia.
I want to ask about Pompeo and Morocco. During a visit a few months ago, Pompeo alluded to the hope that Morocco and Jerusalem would have formal ties within the next year. This was a few months ago. Why do things seem to be warming up with U.S. help, with the U.S. brokering here between Morocco and Israel?
Well, first of all, I think, Jeff, that there is an enormous pressure from the United States, from the president down, you know, Kushner, Pompeo, and it makes sense. You see, according to my understanding, and this is what I would do if I were in their position, is planning a big ceremony in the White House, in the South Lawn of the White House, before November 3rd, before the elections, where you can really have 4-5 countries together with Israel signing a peace accord and signing some regional alliance, which are of course backed by the United States. That could be a huge coup for the region, for Israel, but also for Trump, elections-wise.
Who likely might be, let's say it's a quartet, besides the UAE, who likely would be joining them perhaps in the next round of normalization?
So Bahrain and Oman would be the, let's say, the most, let's say,
obvious
candidates.
And then maybe Morocco or Sudan.
Morocco and Sudan, yeah. And it would have been Yemen also, you know, once they are out of these Houthis and the messing in there and internally of the Iranians. Yemen would be the next in line.
The big question here, the elephant in the room, of course, is Saudi Arabia, which is the big prize here. They seem to be warmly receiving the news, but where do things stand with an official normalization accord between Saudi Arabia and Israel? Why is that a little bit on the back burner, do you think?
Well, I think Saudi Arabia will come last, simply because they are the custodian of the Jerusalem and the holy sites of Islam, and also they have always tried to push away the radical Islamists in their midst. Al-Qaeda came out of Saudi Arabia. ISIS, in a way, also. So they would be very, very reluctant to do anything unless they realize that the coast is clear internally.
I want to ask about the timetable here. As a former ambassador, longtime diplomat, about when we're going to actually see something signed, because we know that both Israel and the UAE have confirmed this normalization deal, but it's not official, pen to paper yet. You can't go into Dubai in an Israeli passport. There's so much hope and enthusiasm. The idea, according to reports, was that that the leaders of both countries would be at the Rose Garden maybe in September. But when are we going to learn exact details? How long of a process is it to get a date for a signing ceremony? And you've hinted perhaps maybe they're going to hold off because they would want other countries there too. It'd be bigger. Exactly. What do you think the timetable will be?
First of all, they have to get agreement from the invitees. And that, again, would be, I think the Saudis could be there as observers.
Just to be there and extend support for what's happening.
A huge message and a sign if they are there. And this is, I guess, probably there is a good chance that they will be there. Once you have an agreement in principle from all those countries, whether it's Oman, Bahrain, Sudan, and whatever, then you have to coordinate a date, of course, before November 3rd.
Yeah, but in America, there's the phrase, the October surprise. Do you want it? Is it too early to be done in September? Do you think the U.S. would want it in October to show the statesman-like quality of President Trump? Is what?
Right. If you add this other layer of internal politics and the campaigning in the United States, it makes sense. Mid-October would make sense. You cannot do it too close to November 3rd because then you lose the effect. It's just too
far
late.
out, yeah.
And of course, if it's now, maybe it's too premature. I would say mid-October would make sense. And then once you are there and all the leaders sign and it's endorsed and testified, there is a test by the President of the United States exchanging the credentials. This is the formalization of relations, and then you're going to the nitty-gritty of where do you start, getting looking for embassy, looking for offices, and
the
then
bureaucracy kicks in.
The bureaucracy kicks in, and that could take a few more weeks.
Last question, just as a prediction with an educated guess. So you believe perhaps there's a good chance that there will be another nation perhaps with the UAE and Israel at that table in a few weeks?
Yes, I think that Oman and Bahrain, one of those would be, I think, they are very ripe. Both of them are very ripe. I think that there will not be one without the other. Makes sense that the two of them will go together, kind of covering each other's back.